Hello, hello, hello. It's Mike Tubman, he, him, his, from the Theater of Sports podcast. Welcome and thank you for listening to the podcast. And if you don't, maybe pause this, subscribe to the podcast, and then come back and watch this? Maybe? No? Please, they only feed me if you listen. Anyways, the podcast was created largely in part to show that the Venn diagram between theater and sports is much bigger than the fans of either realize. However, I haven't always had the opportunity to expound upon that idea, so I thought, why not give it a shot here? So, ladies and gentlethems, welcome to the Theater of Sports podcast's newest video segment, The Plays, the Thing. Is there music? In this new segment, I'm going to show you a single play from a sport, mostly basketball. I really like basketball. And use theater and performance arts comparisons to explain it. Ready to give this a shot? Is that a yes? I can't really hear you. So, right off the top, let's explain the overall objective of basketball. It's fairly simple in thought, if more nuanced in execution. But it follows as thus. If you have the basketball, your objective, theater terms, is to put or shoot the basketball inside of the hoop. We call that making a basket.
We all know from the Pete Maravich movie that two basketballs can fit through the hoop. No one knows that.
I was going to say, all of us who watched the Pistol Pete Maravich movie.
If you don't have the ball, your job is to stop the other team from making that basket. Got it? I think so. Great, so let's start by meeting the players of our particular scene. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women and non-binary individuals merely basketball players. As is the case with most sports, we have two teams. In this particular case, we have the Atlanta Hawks. Per an April 2019 article from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Atlanta is one of several cities nationwide where the number of Hawks has soared, according to University of Wisconsin researchers. So, that's why they're called the Atlanta Hawks, I guess? I don't think so. And the Los Angeles Lakers, due to Los Angeles' many Great Lakes. What? They're originally from Minneapolis. Playing for the Atlanta Hawks, we have John Collins and Cam Reddish, who we will refer to as Collins and Reddish for clarity's sake. And for the Los Angeles Lakers, we have LeBron James.
You may have heard of him.
And Kyle Kuzma, who Laker fans affectionately call Kuz. Don't ask me why, but when any major sports player has that ooh sound in their name, the crowd absolutely loves to elongate it and chant it. Whether it's Kevin Youkilis of the Red Sox or Mookie Betts of the Dodgers, or yes, Kyle Kuzma from the Lakers. So, we have our players, Collins, Reddish, LeBron, and Kuz. Now let's start the scene. Now, much like dancers, the best basketball players in the world have enormous control of their bodies. It's not enough to be able to jump higher and run faster than everyone else if you're out of control when you do it. In the speed of a game or a beautifully choreographed dance, it may seem like the people involved are barely in control of what their bodies do, putting tracks down in front of the train as it's moving. But in basketball, as in ballet or many other forms of dance, every movement is controlled and purposeful. Let's look at Kuz here. As he's dribbling to his right, he begins by hopping into his move. This allows him to either quickly stop to jump and shoot a jump shot, or to explode forward in an attempt to get by his defender, Collins. The hopping motion creates a moment of hesitation for Collins, where he has to decide what Kuz is going to do. Since these are high-level athletes, even a brief moment of hesitation is enough of an advantage for Kuz to exploit. Remember, Kuz and his teammates are trying to get the basketball into the basket, and Kuz can either shoot the ball from here or to try to get around Collins for an easier shot. For those unfamiliar with the concept, shooting the ball when you're close to the basket makes it easier. Who'd have thunk? But dance isn't the only art form with parallels to this particular play in sport. One could compare this to jazz, if one wants to be a pretentious douchebag about it, and one does. Or acting, much like a jazz musician who needs to listen to his fellow musicians in order to properly add to the composition, or an actor who's done all the research, table work, and general preparation before going on stage. Basketball is all about something we call reading and reacting. Or acting is reacting, or jazz musicianing is jazzing. Nope. No, that didn't work. Collins has done all his homework. He knows how to control his body, and he studied what kind of tendencies Kuz has as a player. He also knows where his other teammates are so that they can help him to defend Kuz, or rather, defend the basket from Kuz. Let's keep going. So, Collins makes his split-second decision, his guess. He lurches forward with his hand up in order to keep Kuz from taking a jump shot. A shot Kuz is quite good at making.
By the Lakers on that defensive play.
Kuzma, two! Little turnaround, Jay.
Oh, yeah, Nurkic is grabbing the left
Mesh jersey on, but he might have
rear view later in this
jumper, contact, but long.
Charles Anthony Davis.
LeBron to inbound. HDF is on him. Anthony Davis picked up by Bull. Here comes Kuzma for the win. Got it! .4 to go. They got the lead.
Kuz sees Collins jumping forward, however, and reacts by dribbling the ball with his hand inside the basketball and outward away from the defender. This type of dribble is called an inside-out dribble. Guess why? Kuz uses the fact that Collins has his weight moving forward to try and use his speed to dribble past Collins. Once again, basketball and acting are just reading and reacting. Be present in the moment with your defender or scene partner. Collins sees his scene partner about to shoot, and he reacts by jumping forward and putting his hand up. Kuz sees his scene partner jumping forward and reacts by dribbling around Collins and trying to get by him. But remember, basketball players are world-class athletes, and just like in dance, basketball is all about body control. Though Collins is jumping forward and all his weight is moving in the opposite direction of where Kuz is dribbling, he quickly plants his right foot to be able to push off of it and slide his feet. This keeps Kuz from being able to just dribble by him. Much like a dancer, it's not enough to perform the dance move individually, but to perform the move with knowledge of what your next move needs to be and to position and control your body in such a way that you're able to do it. This is what Collins does. But because Kuzma is present with his scene partner and reacting to what Collins does, he can see that Collins' long arms and legs are going to be able to stop him, and he reacts. Fun little fact, Kuzma has already created the necessary advantage his team is going to use in this play. We just don't know it yet. Well, I do. You don't. Idiots. Sorry. So, because Kuz reacts to his scene partner sliding over to cut him off from getting to the basket, he dribbles the ball between his legs and steps back. His hope here is that Collins doesn't have full control of his body and continues his motion going to his left, thus creating enough space for Kuzma to be able to take a jump shot without worry of his defender blocking his shot or making it a more difficult shot to take. So Kuz hard plants his foot, dribbles between his legs, and hops backwards into a shooting formation. He begins to elevate, or jump, but Kuz's scene partner is a very good scene partner. I hope you're enjoying this scene partner metaphor. I'm trying to be subtle with it. Collins sees what Kuz is doing and plants his left foot this time. He uses this as leverage to contest Kuz's shot or to try and block/disrupt it. Now, let's take a quick second to explain a rule in basketball that pertains to Kuz's current situation. When moving with the basketball, you must dribble the basketball. Dribbling is bouncing the ball, not drool. We're not dealing with babies here. Mostly. If you take more than 2 steps without being in the act of dribbling, it's called a travel, and you're required to forfeit the ball to the other team. Now, a rule about dribbling the ball. You're only allowed to dribble the ball with one hand at a time, as you can see Kuz doing in this play. If you touch the ball with 2 hands, we call that picking up your dribble, you can't dribble anymore. If you do, that's called a double dribble. So, back to Kuz. Here, he puts both hands on the ball as he's going up for a jump shot, but he doesn't take the shot because he's being defended well by Collins. So, Kuz can't move without dribbling the ball, and he can't dribble the ball without double dribbling. He's basically stuck standing right there, with his only options being to pass the ball or to try and shoot. Or you could give it to the other team, but that's a bit counterproductive. Now, the one thing Kuz does have here is what we call a pivot foot. Kuz can't take more than 2 steps without dribbling, and he can't dribble. But if he anchors 1 foot to the floor, meaning the foot remains on the ground at all times and you can't alternate feet, he can move around a little bit and try to give himself some options. This is a lot of information. Are you feeling good? If the answer is yes, awesome. Keep moving forward. If the answer is no, maybe try and rewind a bit. Or you can wait until I get better at making these, which, fat f***ing chance of that happening. So, Kuz is stuck in one position. He can't move much, and since Collins knows this, he can get even closer to Kuz without fear that Kuz will dribble around him. This makes it even harder for Kuz to shoot or pass the ball. Except, let's rewind for a second. Why? This video is already so long. Remember when Kuz started dribbling towards the basket right before he dribbled between his legs? Gross. And I mentioned that Kuz created advantage and we just don't know it yet? Are you ready to find out how that advantage was created? When Kuzma makes that dribble, you can see Collins' teammate, Reddish, slide over to help him. He's worried Kuzma will get by Collins, and he's stepping in front of Kuz briefly to cut off his angle and allow Collins to recover to Kuz. We call this help defense. Can you guess why? And it's actually an extremely useful tool when defending in the NBA. But Reddish makes one critical mistake, and it has to do with focus. If you're an athlete or in the performing arts, you understand how important focus is. When you're tasked with being present at all times, whether you're on a court, a field, or a stage, you must be focused at all times. If you're not focused, you're not present. If you're not present, then you're more likely to miss things and make mistakes. And in high leverage situations in both the performing arts and sports, basketball in this case, even the most minimal of mistakes can be exploited and spell trouble for you. It's why a lot of performers and athletes alike engage in focus exercises and warm-ups. I've seen both performers and athletes do yoga. I've seen both meditate. I've seen both engage in the same routines every show/game in order to shut out all the other noise and focus at the task at hand. Back to Cam Reddish. So, once again, Reddish does the right thing by helping Collins and keeping Kuzma from getting to the basket. But notice how Reddish's movements in doing so aren't nearly as precise as his teammate Collins. It even looks a little lazy. It's the difference in dance between properly pointing your toes and not. Or if you're Fosse doing that weird foot thing that looks awesome. It may seem like an innocuous detail, but it matters a great deal. Not only is Reddish being a bit lazy in his defense, but he's also completely taken his eye off of his defender. He's doing what we like to call in basketball, ball watching. Now, when defending someone who doesn't have the ball, it is important to know where the ball is. But you don't want to take your eye off your own defender for more than the briefest of seconds, because they'll be sure to take advantage of that. Especially when it's LeBron James. There's a reason you've heard of him. And LeBron does just that. Reddish takes his eye off LeBron, and before he can find LeBron again, LeBron recognizes that he has a completely clear path to the basket. LeBron backcuts Reddish, and Kuz uses his pivot foot to allow him to throw a good pass to LeBron. Kuz reads that his shot isn't there, and he reacts by searching for a teammate. LeBron reads that his defender isn't paying attention and reacts by running to the basket. Both are present enough and focused enough to recognize the play unfolding without needing to verbally communicate with one another. Kuz gets the ball to LeBron, who drives to the basket, only to be met there by Clint Capella. More scene partners. What a twist. Now, when LeBron was younger and only slightly sprier than he is now, he would have just dunked that ball.
Jason Terry, good defense. Wade from behind takes it away. Chalmers, Cole, James!
And frankly, he probably could have in this scenario, but for reasons that if I were to explain would make this video even longer, he did not dunk the ball. Probably because number 11, Clint Capella, was guarding someone else, Montrezl Harrell. Let's call him Trez. And LeBron knew that if the guy defending Trez was rotating over to try and guard LeBron, well, he certainly wasn't guarding Trez anymore. LeBron read and reacted. So LeBron, being the intelligent player he is, flips the ball to Trez for the easiest and highest percentage shot in the NBA, a dunk. So, to sum it all up, Kuz and Collins are both being present with their scene partner by reading what each other is doing and reacting in the moment. Much like dancers, they're able to perform this dance with one another because they have great footwork and total control of their bodies. However, due to a lack of focus, Reddish stopped listening and paying attention to his scene partner, allowing him to create advantage and score a basket. Or, in other words, the tactics the Lakers used in order to achieve their objective worked and they were rewarded for it. More theater terms. And that's the Plays the Thing. Let me know if you enjoyed it. Let me know if you found it helpful. Shit, let me know if it made you want to watch basketball or a piece of theater or a beautiful dance when beforehand you had no interest in doing so. And as always, let me know how I can make this better. I want to create things that you want to watch. In the meantime, if you haven't already, subscribe to the Theater of Sports podcast. And while you're there, give us a review. If you really like this, share with your friends. If you didn't, still share it with them. Don't make decisions for your friends. They're grown-ass adults. As always, be safe, be kind. Love you, friends.